Okay, let's talk about Shedeur Sanders, who is a really controversial prospect. I've heard people saying that he should be drafted first overall. I've heard people saying that he shouldn't even be a first round pick. Where do I fall in all of this? Well, first, let me just tell you what my evaluation of him was, and then at the end, I'll give kind of my thoughts on where I would draft him. So, first things first, there absolutely are some really impressive things with Sanders. Like, I think this is probably the best thing best attribute he has. You see how the concept on this play is it's a cover one man play. You see the route he wants to throw towards. However, when he takes the snap, he's going to look in that direction, but as of right now, he's about to get clobbered by a defensive player. So, guy gets through untouched. This is definitely a difficult play for a quarterback to make. And in the NFL, you a lot of times have these. You a lot of times have to throw while getting hit, and he's honestly great at it. Watch, while getting hit is able to make a really accurate throw, and they're able to pick up a big gain right there. He's really accurate, and he is really good at throwing while getting hit, which are two really important qualities to have in a young quarterback. Also, heading over here, I really like how he sees the field. Play like this, for example, he's going to start off looking towards his left, which is towards the top of the screen. Watch, that's where he looks, but unfortunately, as he's looking in this direction, there really isn't a ton open as of right now. So he's going to want to get to a different read. And the good news is, over there, you do have a receiver who's about to get open. The safety's kind of too far towards the middle of the field, so there could be a window towards, outside the numbers, towards the sideline for this play to work. The issue, again, there's a player in his face. So Sanders has to throw to somebody who he's not looking at while there's about to be a player who comes over and tackles him. That's an issue. However, he is able to ultimately read the play, gets the ball over there quickly, and they're able to pick up a big gain. So that's really impressive stuff, and that's not something you expect from a lot of young quarterbacks, and he has that. So he can just come through in so many ways, such as this one, where it's going to be a zone coverage play, and you see the concept on the screen. You're going to have multiple receivers run deep routes over the middle, but the route from the offense's left to the offense's right is really the key one here. Watch as, when Sanders takes the snap, he's going to ultimately look in that direction, but he's under pressure. He's going to have to throw off balance, but Sanders can do this as well. Watch, really accurate throw while on the move, able to get it down the field and pick up a big gain. So you might be sitting here and saying, well, wait a second. If he processes the play well, he's really accurate. What's the issue? Isn't he just clearly a great quarterback who's going to succeed at the NFL level? Well, no. The biggest critique I have of Sanders is what he does when a play breaks down. For example, this one, where before the snap doesn't really matter, it's really what I want to talk about here is post-snap. You're going to see that Sanders takes a snap, and it doesn't matter where he's looking, because down the field, nothing is really open. Kind of the deep route going over the middle looks like it's about to get open, but there's a safety over there, so that's not a throw you can make. Really, nothing is open. And this is my critique of Sanders, is when he's in a good situation, he can make the most of it. But I think he could really improve on his damage management and minimizing bad plays. Because as of right here, okay, it's not a play that's going to work. However, you see him kind of just hang in the pocket. He sort of thinks about scrambling and then does it, and ultimately just takes a sack right there and loses a good amount of yards that he didn't have to lose. He could have tried to scramble earlier if he wanted to. He could have tried to just throw the football away. But instead, he decides to just kind of hang there in the pocket and ultimately takes a sack. This is another example of kind of what I'm talking about, where you have a player, who's going to be, the guy I've circled, he's going to be unblocked on this play. Watch. As you see, he comes through, and he comes through untouched. You're in a situation now where, okay, it's tough for Sanders, right? Him not being able to succeed in this situation is what it is. But watch as instead of just going down or throwing the ball away, he tries to juke that defender out and is unsuccessful at doing so. This is just what you would see a lot, is when he had pressure in his face and he didn't have a place to go with the ball, he usually made a bad situation worse. This one, another one. Again, we're going to have an unblocked rusher right here, which sometimes you would say is that the quarterback not setting his protection, but here his protection's set, his guard's just going to mess up. Watch, you see Sanders takes the snap, the defensive player gets through untouched. Again, at this point in the play, this is not Sanders' fault. A guy got through untouched, like what are you supposed to do? Here's where I think Sanders screws up. Watch him while getting hit, just kind of just throws one, and I mean that could have been bad. Could result in fumbles, could result in turnovers. You can't help but think of Will Levis when you see this kind of stuff, right? Of never admitting that a play is dead and making things worse instead of just taking the L, which you have to do on some plays. Like this play is another example, because one of the things I heard when people were praising Shedeur was his creativity, and he certainly is creative, and sometimes it works out. I gotta be honest though, I view his creativity as a negative, not as a positive. So watch, when this play begins, you're going to see it's a sort of a flea flicker type play that doesn't really work out. That's not Shedeur's fault. He did what he could. But because this play didn't work out, he's now going to have to try and scramble. And what should he do in this situation? Well, realistically, he should probably throw the football away, right? I mean, the play didn't work. Just throw the ball away. It's second down. You now have a third down opportunity. Instead, he gets creative, right? As you see, he flips the ball backwards, which, again, was a problem for a couple reasons. One, they actually lost a couple yards on the play, so it didn't even work out. But two, the player that he flipped it to wasn't ready for the football. What if he drops it, or what if it slips through his hands, or what if it's since the flip, maybe it isn't a perfect throw and you lose a ton of yards or even lose the football. Quite frankly, I just don't want to see a quarterback doing this unless they have a really high hit rate, and Sanders just, to me, doesn't. And this is the definition of a play that could really go wrong once you get to the NFL level. We've seen Josh Allen essentially have to get a lot of this out of his game, and Allen has the big arm, right? So that's the concern I have with someone like Sanders. Also, we can talk about his arm, which his arm's not bad. It's certainly not bad, but it's not a cannon like you'll see some other players. Like, for example, this play, he's going to take the snap on the hash marks towards the top of the screen. You see a receiver is running a route, trying to get into a gap in coverage toward the bottom of the screen, and right off the bat, this play is going to work. Watch, Sanders takes a snap, he looks over, and as of right here, there is a definite window for him if he wants to make this throw, and it's tough. Like I said, hash marks on the top of the screen, throwing outside the numbers, tough angle for sure. But as you see, this ball just hangs up too long, also leaves his receiver too far towards the middle of the field, and to be honest, that's a hospital ball. That's how guys get injured. You gotta be careful there, and that was an open play. You want to be able to hit that. Again, I'm not saying he has a noodle arm or anything like that, but his arm strength just isn't as good as some other top prospects you talk about. It just isn't. And I think this would concern me if I'm taking someone who I kind of see as a bit of a project with a lot of things you have to take out of his game. The fact that he isn't a Josh Allen who at least has the elite physical traits. He's someone who has, not the best physical traits on top of having a lot of things you're going to have to work out of his game. Not to say he can't work, but that's just the issue. One other thing, this isn't really a positive or a negative, just a thing to talk about. And kind of a bigger point I would have about Sanders is if you're going to draft him, you got to put him in a good situation. Because like I said, very good in good situations, in my opinion, not very good in bad situations. And then he also just likes to do this a lot. One-on-one matchup on the outside. As you see, he takes the snap. And is this play like open? Yeah. I mean, there's an opportunity, but essentially throwing it here is just a jump ball, right? Well, that's what Sanders decides to do, and the receiver takes a bit of a weird way to get to the ball. Might have been a completion had he played that better, but this is my broader point, which is if you're going to draft Shedeur Sanders, you better have a good situation you're drafting him into. Don't do the New England Patriots thing of drafting the quarterback with no situation around him, or he's going to look bad. He just is. He needs receivers that are going to catch the jump balls that he likes to throw. He needs to have opportunities where he can throw over the middle and doesn't have to hold on to the ball for too long. So yeah, as a whole, I mean, one thing is people say he has good intangibles. I've never met him. I don't know, but okay, that's good to hear. He does have some really positive traits. Like I said, sees the field well, is accurate. He can throw while getting hit. He can throw on the run, and I didn't really talk about it much in this video, but he does move well as well. But his inability to let a play die, his willingness to hold on to the ball for too long in the pocket, and his, quite frankly, Will Levis-like plays, to me, just concern me far too much. He's a guy who likes taking sacks, it seems like, because that's what he's constantly doing. Also, I didn't really talk about this too much either, but has some weird fundamentals that you'll just have to work out. Maybe that could create some better arm strength, I don't know, but that's another issue that I did notice when watching him. So, as a whole, I'm definitely lower on Sanders than most people are, I think. I don't see him as a top player, and I probably wouldn't draft him with a number 2 overall pick. Well, I think there's a chance it could work out. To me, the odds are just low enough and there's too many red flags. I'd rather just take a sure thing on a different player and then, move on. And maybe if it's far enough down to draft, okay, well, now we can take this risk. But I'd rather just wait a year and take a risk on a different player. Not to say he can't work out. Again, predicting quarterbacks is impossible. And at a certain point, I would always say that it's never a bad idea to draft a quarterback you think could work out in the draft. I just think there's better ideas out there, if that makes sense. So my main point is that I'm not going to crush whoever decides to draft him, as long as it's not over Cam Ward, in my opinion, who I think is a better player. But at the same time, it's not the decision I would make to draft him too high. But those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from ya. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.